The overthinker's dilemma. Have you ever found yourself trapped in a loop of thoughts that just won't quit? Maybe you're replaying something embarrassing you said at a party, analyzing it from every angle. Or you have a decision to make, and you've been weighing pros and cons for days, but feel more confused than when you started. Or it's bedtime, and your body is tired, but your brain is buzzing, dredging up mistakes from years ago, or worrying about every possible outcome of tomorrow's meeting. This is overthinking, when your mind just won't let go, chewing on things long past the point of usefulness. Overthinking is exhausting. It can make small issues feel huge because we've magnified them through constant attention. It fuels anxiety and self-doubt. The more you think, the more potential problems you uncover, or the more flaws you see in yourself. It can rob you of enjoying the present moment because you're either stuck in the past or fretting about the future. And ironically, overthinking doesn't usually solve anything. It often leaves you paralyzed or mentally drained, less capable of taking action or making decisions. If this sounds familiar, know that you're not alone, and there's nothing wrong with you for having a busy mind. In fact, many people who overthink are intelligent, conscientious individuals. Your brain is good at thinking. It just doesn't know when to stop. But just as an engine running too hot can burn out, a mind running too many thoughts can lead to burnout and distress. The good news is you can learn to loosen overthinking's grip. Think of your mind like a radio. Sometimes it's blasting static, or repeating the same song. But you can learn to dial down the volume or change the station. It takes practice, but it's absolutely possible. In this episode, let's explore how to do that. We'll lean on Stoic philosophy to differentiate what's worth thinking about and what isn't, and how to regain control over runaway thoughts. We'll incorporate Buddhist and mindfulness techniques to train your mind to live more in the here and now, and to detach from incessant thought streams. And we'll discuss practical strategies from psychology to interrupt rumination and bring clarity. Our approach here is both compassionate and practical. Overthinking often comes aside from a place of trying to protect ourselves. Like, if I just think enough, I can prevent bad things. Or, if I analyze this, I won't make the same mistake. We'll address those underlying intentions and find healthier ways to meet them, ways that actually give results rather than just spinning mental wheels. By the end, you should have a variety of tools to help quiet your mind when it's overactive and to shift into a healthier, more balanced mode of thinking. It's not about never thinking. Thinking is useful, but about thinking in a way that serves you rather than traps you. So, if you're ready, take a deep breath. Really, do it now. Inhale and exhale. Let's begin unraveling the knots of overthinking. Why do we overthink? Before diving into solutions, it helps to understand why we tend to overthink in the first place. Overthinking usually falls into two categories: ruminating about the past, endlessly rehashing events, conversations, or mistakes; worrying about the future, continuously imagining possible scenarios or outcomes. Both are attempts of the mind to gain control or understanding. Perhaps something in the past upset you or didn't go as you wanted. So your brain keeps replaying it, thinking, maybe if I analyze it one more time, I'll feel better or figure out what went wrong. Or you face uncertainty ahead, so your brain tries to solve it by anticipating everything, as if by thinking through every scenario, you won't be caught off guard. There's also an emotional component. Often, anxiety and overthinking go hand in hand. Anxiety fuels thoughts like, what if this? What if that? And the thoughts, in turn, heighten anxiety. A vicious cycle. Similarly, perfectionism can lead to overthinking decisions. I must choose the perfect option. I can't mess up. Let me think a bit more. Low self-esteem or guilt can cause rumination on mistakes. I'm always screwing up. Let me dissect this screw up thoroughly. Physiologically, an overthinking mind is often a mind stuck in a kind of stress response. Your nervous system might be slightly in fight or flight, keeping you hypervigilant mentally. Breaking that state through relaxation or changing focus can help. Additionally, in our modern world, we are inundated with choices and information, which can overload our decision-making. Ever spend an hour reading reviews for a simple item purchase? That's modern overthinking. Social media and constant news can also keep our minds overactive, jumping from one topic to the next without rest. At its core, though, overthinking is a habit. It's something we inadvertently train by repetition. The more you engage in it, the more the brain gets used to that pattern. Initially, it might feel hard to break, like trying to stop a train. But small, consistent changes can gradually lay down new tracks for your thinking habits. Recognizing triggers can help. Do you overthink more at night? After a social event? When you have an important decision? Knowing when you're vulnerable to overthinking allows you to preempt it with some strategies, like journaling before bed, or setting a time limit on decision research. Now, let's gather wisdom from Stoicism and Eastern philosophy to shine some light on how to view and manage our thoughts. Stoicism, detaching from disturbing thoughts. Stoic philosophers were basically the original cognitive behavior therapists in some ways. They paid a lot of attention to thoughts and judgments and how those affect our emotions. Marcus Aurelius, who we've quoted in earlier episodes, has a particularly relevant line. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This reminds us that while we often can't control what happens externally, we can learn to control how we think about it. Overthinking often entails trying to control something external by thinking, like controlling others' opinions or controlling future events. But Stoicism would say, focus on controlling your own mind and response instead. One Stoic technique is to ask, is this within my control? If not, then it is not worth excessive thought and worry. Epictetus divided things into what's up to us, our thoughts, actions, values, and what's not, others' actions, the past, etc. If you find yourself obsessing over, say, what someone else might be thinking about you, a Stoic approach is their mind under my control? No. Then agonizing over it is not useful. What is under my control? How I treat them, or how I choose to perceive the situation. This can help cut through some overthinking by eliminating insoluble puzzles, like, why did they do that, when you may never know. Stoicism also encourages objectivity. Overthinkers tend to get very subjective and emotional about the subject of their ruminations. A Stoic might practice taking a step back, almost like a scientist or philosopher examining the situation rationally. For example, instead of, I made such a fool of myself, everyone must think I'm an idiot, emotional, self-critical thought, try to see it from outside. I said something that others might have found odd. Some may not even have noticed, even if a couple of people thought it was foolish. They likely moved on and are now thinking about their own lives. I can learn from this, maybe think before speaking next time if needed, and then let it go. See how that is more balanced? Stoicism is full of these reality checks, reminding ourselves of how small many events are in the grand scheme. Marcus often reflects on the vastness of time and how today's worries will mean little in the future, which can trivialize our overblown concerns. Seneca advised that we should not pour salt on our wounds by ruminating on misfortunes. If something bad happened, It's bad enough it happened once. Why relive it 100 times in your head, effectively multiplying the pain? Overthinking negative events is like experiencing them over and over. Seneca would say, this is self-torture with no benefit. Another Stoic idea: focus on action over excessive deliberation. They believed in applying philosophy to life, not just thinking about it endlessly. If a decision is to be made, gather info, use reason, make the best choice you can, and then move forward. Overthinkers often fear making mistakes, but Stoics frame mistakes as lessons, not disasters. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Meaning, don't fear mistakes or looking silly. That fear triggers overthinking. Accept you'll sometimes get it wrong, and that's okay. This mindset can free you to act with less paralysis. Finally, Stoicism urges us to be in the present. Sounds a lot like mindfulness, right? Marcus Aurelius emphasized focusing on the present task and not letting the mind get pulled off by other thoughts. Overthinking often means our attention is not on what we're actually doing, but on internal chatter. Training ourselves to bring our mind back to the present task repeatedly is something both Stoics and Buddhists talk about, which leads us to mindfulness and Tao, quieting the monkey. Mind. In Buddhism, there's the concept of the monkey mind, a mind that jumps around, restless and chatter-filled, like a monkey leaping from tree to tree. Overthinking is basically the monkey mind at full throttle. Mindfulness meditation was developed precisely to calm that monkey. The principle of mindfulness is to observe thoughts without getting entangled. Imagine you're sitting by the roadside and your thoughts are cars driving by. Overthinking is like chasing the cars or trying to stop them. Mindfulness is sitting and watching them pass. When you notice your mind has hopped on a thought car and is speeding down the highway, say you caught yourself 5 minutes into rehashing an argument, you gently step off and return to observing. One practice is labeling thoughts. Simply note planning if you're worrying about tomorrow, or remembering if you're rehashing the past, or judging if you're being self-critical. Labeling creates a slight distance. It's like, oh, that's what my mind is doing. This separates you from the thought. The thought is an event in the mind, not absolute truth, not necessarily important, just one of many mental events. Breathing exercises or body scans are also great for interrupting overthinking. When you direct focus to breathing or bodily sensations, you give your mind something stable and neutral to do. The monkey might still try to jump, but you keep bringing it gently back to the breath or body. Over time, the monkey gets a bit calmer, or at least you learn not to follow it as readily. Taoism offers a perspective of effortlessness, or Wu Wei, actionless action. Overthinking is often over-effort in the mental realm. Taoist wisdom would say sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to step back and let clarity emerge on its own, like muddy water settling when left still. When we overthink, we're constantly stirring the water. In practice, this might mean if you're stuck on a problem, take a break, go for a walk, do something else. And often, the solution or a fresh perspective comes when you're not forcing it. Both Buddhism and Taoism teach letting go of the need to be certain, which drives over-analysis of decisions, letting go of perfection, letting go of the past. There's a Buddhist story of two monks crossing a muddy road where a woman was stuck. One monk carries her across, then the monks continue walking. Hours later, the second monk is upset. "We're not supposed to touch women. How could you carry her?" The first monk replies, "I set her down hours ago, but you are still carrying her." Overthinking is like that. We carry things in our mind long after the actual event. Learning to set it down through a deliberate decision or ritual, like writing it on paper and then throwing the paper away symbolically, can be powerful. Self-compassion, a concept in Buddhism via Dr. Kristin Neff's work, is also key. Overthinking often includes harsh self-critique. Practicing self-compassion, treating yourself with understanding and kindness, can reduce the negative loop. For instance, instead of, "Why am I always overthinking? What's wrong with me?" say, "I see you're really worried and trying to get it right. It's okay, many people feel this. Let's take a breath." It might feel odd, but comforting yourself as you would a friend actually calms the inner overthinker. All right, let's get into concrete techniques you can start using today to break free from overthinking. Practical strategies to stop overthinking. 1. The 5-5-5 grounding technique. When you catch yourself lost in thought, pause and do this. Name 5 things you can see right now, 5 things you can hear, and 5 physical sensations, like my back on the chair, feet on floor, etc. Then take a deep breath. This floods your awareness with present sensory info, crowding out excessive thoughts. You can do a shorter version too, like 3-3-3, if 5 is too many. This is great in moments of intense rumination or worry to snap back to now. 2. set a time limit for decisions. If you overthink decisions, big or small, try giving yourself a reasonable time limit or number of options to consider. For example, I will spend 30 minutes researching, then I'll choose. Or, I'll only look at 3 menu items, then pick one. The structure helps avoid analysis. Paralysis. Also remind yourself, no decision is 100% perfect. Make the best choice with info you have, and remember you can adjust course if needed. 3. Externalize your thoughts. Often our head is like an echo chamber. Putting thoughts out into the world can help break the echo. Ways to do this. Journaling. Write down what's on your mind, no matter how repetitive or messy. The act of writing slows you down a bit and also gets it out of your head onto paper. After writing, you might feel some relief. You can even set a timer, e.g., I'll journal these worries for 10 minutes, then I'll close the book and do something else. Talk to someone, a friend, or therapist, or family member. Sometimes saying your worries out loud reveals how exaggerated they might be, or you get a reality check, or reassurance, or the person just listens, which can be cathartic. Choose someone who is understanding, or can gently help you get out of your head, not someone who will judge you for overthinking. Voice memo to yourself. If no one's around, talk out loud and record it, or not. Hearing your own voice, stating what's bothering you, can make it feel more contained than the endless loop in your mind. 4. The stop technique. Some people find it helpful when noticing an overthinking spiral to firmly tell themselves, stop, even aloud, and then immediately shift attention. It's like a pattern interrupt. You could pair this with snapping a rubber band on your wrist or some physical cue, though gently. After saying, stop, do a different activity or engage your senses as above. This, with repetition, trains the mind that we're not doing this now. 5. Schedule overthink time. This is similar to the worry time method from earlier. If you really feel you can't let something go, schedule a 15-minute daily slot to do nothing but think about that thing. When it's not that time, if your brain brings it up, say, we'll deal with that at 4 p.m. Often, when the time comes, either you feel less interested in thinking about it, you may even skip the session, or at least you confine it. This prevents all-day rumination. 6. One small step. Action over thought. Ask, is there an action I can take about this? If you're overthinking something that has a practical component, doing a small action can break the spell. For example, if you keep thinking about a person you had conflict with, maybe send them a kind message or plan a talk. Taking action might resolve the uncertainty your brain is chewing on. Or if you're endlessly researching how to start a project, just start a tiny part of it. Action often clarifies more than thought does. As the saying goes, you can't think your way out of a problem that you behaved your way into. Sometimes you have to act your way out, or at least into a new perspective. 7. Mindfulness practice. We discussed mindfulness conceptually. Practically, meditation is like a gym for the mind to reduce overthinking. Even 5 to 10 minutes a day of sitting quietly, focusing on your breath, and returning your attention when it wanders, is proven to reduce rumination and anxiety. Apps or guided meditations can help if you're new. The key is consistency more than duration. Over weeks, you'll likely notice that you can step back from thoughts more easily in daily life. 8. Embrace imperfection and uncertainty. Overthinking often tries to eliminate uncertainty or mistakes. Make it a practice to do something and not perfect it. For example, write an email and send it without rereading 5 times. Or go to a social event without rehearsing conversation topics. This exposure can be anxiety-provoking, but you'll often find nothing disastrous happens. It builds tolerance that things can be fine, even if you didn't think them through exhaustively. Life can be a bit improvised and still turn out all right. 9. Check your assumptions. Overthinking is full of assumptions, like assuming someone is mad at you, assuming you'll fail, etc. Challenge them. Ask, how do I know this? What evidence do I have? Often, you'll find you're treating guesses as facts. For example, you might be replaying a meeting thinking, everyone thought my idea was stupid. Challenge. Did anyone say that? A couple of people were quiet, but that could mean anything. Maybe they were tired, and 2 people actually nodded. So maybe it wasn't terrible after all. This kind of reality checking can pry you out of a negative thought loop. 10. Focus on solutions or acceptance. A wise question when you're mulling over a problem. Am I focusing on solving the problem or just dwelling on it? If you're just dwelling, e.g., this is so awful, I hate that it happened, try shifting to either find a solution, what can I do differently next time, or if not solvable, to acceptance. It happened. I can't change it. I can only change how I move forward. Problem-solving thinking is useful. Excessive dwelling is not. If you catch yourself in the latter, actively redirect to one of these modes. 11. Change the channel. Sometimes You just have to deliberately do something engaging enough that your brain doesn't have room to overthink. Exercise often works. It's hard to ruminate heavily while doing sprints or a yoga flow requiring balance, or doing a hobby that requires concentration, painting, a challenging puzzle, playing music, etc. Interacting with others can help too. Play a game with someone. Have a meaningful conversation, not about the thing you're overthinking. Essentially, give your mind a different puzzle or activity to chew on, creating a mind at peace. Overcoming overthinking is a gradual process, like training a puppy to stay. At first, the puppy mind wanders all over, but gently, consistently, you guide it back, reward it for being present. With a nice experience or self-praise when you successfully redirect yourself out of rumination. Over time, the mind learns to stay more, to return quicker, and to not run off into every alley of thought. One encouraging fact: studies show that mindfulness and cognitive strategies can physically change the brain, strengthening areas related to attention and reducing activity in areas associated with rumination. So the effort you put in truly can rewire your mental habits. Let's also talk about patience and realistic expectations. You likely won't stop overthinking overnight, or never have a bout of it again. But you can reduce it. Maybe you go from spending 3 hours a day lost in thoughts to just 30 minutes. Or from every night insomnia to most nights being able to let things go. Celebrate progress. Even catching yourself overthinking, perhaps after a bit of time, is a win. Because before, you might not even have realized it. Now you are aware, and awareness is the first step to change. Also, sometimes the goal is not to forcefully stop a thought, which can be like trying to not imagine a pink elephant. It backfires. But to change your relationship to it. Instead of battling your thoughts, you learn to shrug at them. Oh, there goes my brain again. And then pivot attention to something meaningful. A helpful perspective. Thoughts are not facts. You might think intensely about something, but that doesn't make it real. Overthinking often blurs that line, and we start reacting to our thoughts as if they're reality. Reminding yourself, I'm just thinking, nothing actually happened, can loosen the anxiety or sadness that built up. Another tip: when you find yourself overthinking, sometimes it helps to take a break and find some laughter. Watch a funny video or talk to a friend who makes you laugh. Laughter can break a rumination loop and shift your mood. Then you come back to the issue, if you need to at all, with a lighter head. Remember, too, the role of environment. If you always overthink in bed, maybe incorporate a calming bedtime routine, like reading fiction, so your brain focuses on that story, not yours, or doing a short meditation. If you find you ruminate when you're alone too much, try to plan some social activities or productive tasks to occupy that time. Structure can prevent idle mind states that invite overthinking. And importantly, if overthinking is part of a bigger issue, like chronic anxiety or depression, consider reaching out to a mental health professional. They can provide tailored strategies and support. And sometimes therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, is very effective at reducing rumination, living a life beyond overthinking. Imagine a day where you do what you need to do, meet challenges as they come, and then when you're done, you allow yourself to rest, mentally and physically, without rehashing everything. You may not reach Zen 24/7, but you absolutely can move toward a life where your mind becomes a tool you use when needed, rather than a noisy, overbearing boss. Start with small wins. Maybe today you notice one instance of overthinking and successfully redirect yourself to a healthier thought or action. That's a win. Or you decide after listening to this that you'll meditate for 5 minutes tomorrow morning. Another win. Each little practice adds up. Overthinking is often about the past or future. The more you cultivate presence, the more life you actually live instead of just think about. When eating, really taste your food instead of eating on autopilot while worrying. When with a friend, really listen to them instead of being half in your head. These mindfulness moments add richness to your life and also naturally diminish runaway thoughts. A quote attributed to Lao Tzu, which we touched on earlier. Muddy water, let stand, becomes clear. Think of your mind as that water. When it's churned with overthinking, it's cloudy. But if you practice stillness, pausing, breathing, letting go, it can clear. In clarity, often solutions and insights pop up effortlessly, maybe in the shower or on a peaceful walk. You might find you don't have to force thinking so hard. Your mind will serve up answers when it's calm. Also remember, not every thought deserves your attention. Some are junk mail of the mind. You can notice them and then focus on something better. You have the right to mentally delete or ignore thoughts that are not helping you. Finally, I want to encourage a mind trust in yourself. Overthinking is often fueled by a lack of trust in your decisions, in your memory. I must think about this so I don't forget it. In your ability to handle outcomes, start building self-trust. Affirm, whatever happens, I can handle it. Or, I trust myself to make a good enough decision. Or, I trust that I don't need to monitor this every second. I can let it be. As you practice the strategies we discussed, whether it's mindfulness, writing, or simply consciously saying, I've thought about this enough for now, you'll likely see improvement. Some days will be harder, and you might slip into old habits when stressed. That's okay and normal. Just gently steer back again. Your mind is an amazing instrument, capable of creative ideas, problem solving, and imagination. Overthinking is like a beautiful instrument playing out of tune. It's not making pleasant music. By tuning your mind with these practices, you can channel your thinking towards productive and creative ends and give it rest when rest is due. Imagine the relief of not analyzing that email for an hour before sending, or not replaying a conversation 10 times. That freed up energy can go into things you love, learning, connecting, creating, or simply into relaxation, which we all need. In closing, overthinking is a habit, and like any habit, it can be changed. Be patient, be kind to yourself, and be consistent. Over time, you will likely find that you have more peace in your mind and more life in your days. So, next time your thoughts start to spiral, remember this episode. Maybe take one deep breath and tell yourself, it's okay to let this go. Because often, it truly is. You have the tools, and you have the power. Now go forth and practice being the master of your mind, not its servant. You've got this.